the show where we review films, TV shows, and games. This is episode 3 of our new series, and this week we are doing The Incredibles. Ethan's going to take the lead on this one. We're going through beat by beat, as we always do. Excuse me, and we hope you like it, Ethan.
And there will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen Incredibles, it came out in 2004, so watch Incredibles. It's a really good film.
I was 4 years old.
I was going to say, I was just really young, and it was one of my favourite childhood films growing up. You probably have the same memories, don't you? Mm-hmm. I think we watched it in cinema.
I have no memory because I was probably so young.
Yeah, but I think I just imagine we did because we used to go a lot. So. But yeah, I thought just to start off, we'll say it's directed and written by Brad Bird, isn't it?
Yes.
Who's a really good director.
There's a couple of voices as well, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he puts himself in, and yeah, we can talk about that a bit later. Yeah, he makes a couple of appearances, doesn't he, in different ways. But yeah, so we kick off, we get this really nice, incredible theme music. It's very sort of spy-like, would you agree?
Yeah.
With the sort of, it's like James Bondy sort of theme.
I was going to say James Bondy, I didn't want to say it.
But it's still recognisable as its own thing, isn't it?
Yes, agreed.
And we kick off with these grainy interviews of like the good old days when every superhero was legally allowed to practice their superhero antics and save people in this universe that they
it's like a Citizen Kane style, isn't it, in the beginning?
Yeah.
Good, I like that.
And Bob, who's also Mr. Incredible, so if we say Bob in this, we mean Mr. Incredible.
I'll say Mr. Ink or Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, Mr. Ink, yeah, I wrote that a lot. And Helen is Elastigirl, so if we say Helen, we mean Elastigirl, obviously. But they're both like talking to them about things they like and don't like. Bob's kind of saying, you know, he's kind of sick of always being a superhero. Sometimes he just wants to have a night off and chill out, which is kind of, we see later on, not really what he wants, which is funny. And Elastigirl is kind of saying sort of similar thing. She says she needs her vigilante persona to do her thing, but she also needs her other life to do her other activities.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that he says he wants the world just to stay saved, but his superhero identity is kind of attached to his personality. So when they do have to go away, he finds it really hard to adjust, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So I found that quite interesting because they're kind of both saying things that are against what they actually feel in a way, which we see later on. But yeah, anyway, so we also get introduced to Frozone through these interviews, and he references how women are always wanting people to reveal their secret identities. I don't know if he means women superheroes or like women in general. It kind of made me think of Batman, like Batman revealing his secret identity.
There's a lot of Batman parodies in this film. We get into it, but
I found that quite funny because straight off the bat they're sort of referencing that. So yeah, that's basically it. We get the interviews and then the title screen rolls, and we get the sort of drums for The Incredibles, and then the actual sort of theme song plays, and we get the cast and things like that, don't we?
Yeah.
And then we get a big time jump, don't we? Which it doesn't actually tell. I don't think it tells you, but you can tell. Basically, it's been a time jump. I think is it about 15 years? I think something like that.
Yeah, it's a big time jump.
And Mr. Ink is all dressed up nice. He's in his Incredible and he's on his way somewhere. They don't tell you where at the time, but he's listening on his like police scanner radio in his car, and he's sort of like picking up crimes in the area as he's going to this thing that he's going to, and he's sort of like saving cats, isn't he, for that old lady and things like that.
Very good.
I thought that was quite cool. He says, "I got time."
So he's like on the way. He's supposedly having his wedding on the same day, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's got this "I've got time" catchphrase that he always says. I thought it was a bit overkill that he used the tree that the cat was stuck in to stop the guys that he was tracking down. We get a cool Easter egg when he's in his car and he switches to pursuit, and he's got loads of different modes.
Yeah.
His car is obviously a parody of the Batmobile, which is quite cool. I liked it. So the modes are manual, hover, hydro pursuit, isolate pursuit, auto, and merge pursuit. And we see him use like each of those across the span of the two films.
Yes, you're right.
As well.
Yeah.
But I thought it was quite cool that they are parodying Batman a little bit.
Yeah.
It was quite cool.
Yeah, that's sort of like number 2 reference straight away, and it's very early on. But I do like how you said he puts the tree down and he's a bit careless, but he gets the job done and no one really gets hurt apart from the people who are being bad. But he is a bit boyish, isn't he, with how he does things? Yeah, he doesn't have the smarts of Elastigirl or Frozone, I'd say. But he is smart in a different way. He uses his powers to his advantage, I'd say. But yeah, he does. I say he kills two birds with one stone. He gets the cat out of the tree and then does that. And I also write, everyone loves him. All the police are like, oh, thank you so much. You know, you're so great, which I found quite funny. That, you know, they're really like appreciative of him, and like they're really into him. And then Buddy shows up, doesn't he?
Right.
And he's already, just to introduce you to him, he sort of wants to be Incrediboy, and he gets in the car, and Mr. Incredible kind of tells him, oh, you know, not really interested, and then ejects him out, doesn't he?
Yeah, Buddy is voiced by Jason Lee in this. Do you know Coach Frank from Skate 3?
Oh,
and
right.
Dave from Alvin and Chipmunks.
Yes.
Really like funny character, and he calls him Brody at one point.
Yes.
And Brody is a character from the film Mallrats, which came out in 1995.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite funny that they snuck that little Easter egg in there. But we love Jason Lee. He's so good in whatever he's in.
And we can say as well that he's modelled after Brad Bird, Buddy, isn't he? It's his face. You can see it. He's like a young, chubby, which was just so funny. And it really works well for him. Like his character, it just suits it. Anyway, Mr. Incredible, he carries on sort of doing his antics. He says, oh, I've got time for another crime. Cool. And he ends up seeing Elastigirl, doesn't he? On I think it's on the rooftop.
Yes.
And they have their little moment. And they don't really actually say that they got something on later, that's the wedding.
No,
they just hint to it, don't they?
Like they don't know each other, in that way. That's quite cool. I like that.
I think as a kid I was like, huh, what the hell? Like, I thought these guys would be, because you know that they're the family in it. But yeah, they don't hint at it there, which I thought was a bit weird. And then Frozone sort of goes past going, you know, you're going to be late, doesn't he? And he's like, no, I've got time.
There's a time that comes up again. Yes. It's a bit of an enemy to him in the film. You know, he's trying to wind back the clocks to the glory days. And as we see in a minute when we have another time jump, it gets to him a lot.
Yeah.
Him being very inactive and not taking action and anything. He finds it quite difficult, doesn't he?
He does.
Not do anything.
He struggles big time, yeah. Following on straight from that robber scene on the rooftop, there's another thing going on. This film is just straight off the bat. There's so much happening, isn't there?
Yeah.
That there's a suicide jumper jumping off the tower, which Mr. Incredible sees and manages to save him by diving through a window and catching him, basically, to then run into Bon Voyage, which I thought is just crazy. There's just so much happening on this night.
Isn't it?
He's got a lot going on his wedding night. But he doesn't seem to mind it, even though he says in the interview at the start, you know, I'd like a day off. He kind of loves the life. He's into it. But I love that Bon Voyage scene. I found that really funny as a kid. It's just very comedic, but also the stakes become very high when what happens, basically.
So Bon Voyage is kind of a little bit of a parody of the Joker, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
With his face paint and his love for explosives.
Yeah.
Bon Voyage makes a cameo in Ratatouille. After this, you can see him in the background.
I forgot about that.
I thought that was really cool.
He's like
to
a
see
mime,
him again,
isn't he, or something
to come
like
back.
that.
And obviously, Bon Voyage means have a nice trip in French. But I like the play on words that they do.
It's sort of like a play on words, isn't it?
It was good. It sounds good. It rolls off the tongue well, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think Buddy shows up again, doesn't he? He sort of flies in the window where Mr. Incredible jumped through with that bloke.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Incredible's here.
Oh, no.
And, Mr. Ink tells him, fly home, buddy, I work alone. Which I always like that line. I always thought it was quite cool. Like, just, you know, go home, kid, let the big boys take care of this sort of thing.
Also a bit of a Batman thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Very, very Batman. Which Buddy doesn't seem to get. He just wants to help, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's a kid though.
And Bon Voyage says your outfit looks ridiculous. He kind of mocks him like twice, doesn't he? He calls him a little oaf as well in French, which I had the subtitles on. I found that so funny. Mr. Incredible's got him pinned up against the wall, and he's just calling him a little oaf and things like that. So he's not impressed either. Do you know what I mean? And then he attaches that bomb to his cape, which is a massive foreshadowing throughout the film of these capes. And
that's my Easter egg section part. Capes.
So that causes Mr. Incredible to basically let go of Bon Voyage and go after Buddy, because even though he's an annoying little brat, is still a kid, and he still needs to save him. And Buddy doesn't understand at all what he's trying to do. He just wants to get to the police. And then when Mr. Incredible jumps on him, he's like, get off me sort of thing. Yeah. And he's just trying to get the bomb off his thing, which he does in the end, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then falls down, and I think the subway gets, the railway gets blown up, doesn't it? Or something like that.
So he's got to stop the train.
Yes.
Yeah, and he does it kind of Spider-Man 2 style.
Yes,
he jumps
that's
in
what I
and
wrote down. Yeah.
it's really good.
And I looked up when this film came out, and it literally came out the same year, but a few months after Spider-Man.
Okay.
So I don't know if they would have had the.
No, I don't think.
But it's still funny how it is really similar in that way.
That would probably be the only way you would stop a train, wouldn't you? With just intense like strength. But
yes, you're right.
that's a really cool scene.
So yeah, I wrote Spider-Man too. So yeah, he does stop the train, and after that you think, oh, he's sorted everything out here, and then he goes to his wedding.
Right.
So you don't really think anything of those just recent night of events.
Yeah, it's kind of like a normal day at the office, isn't it?
Yeah.
For Mr. Incredible.
But really, it isn't to the whole rest of the world. But we'll get to that.
Yes. We have this wedding scene, don't we?
Yeah.
Can I list off all the people that we see? Because I did list them.
Yeah.
So we have in the front row, we have Gazerbeam, which comes up a bit later, but we won't talk about that now.
Big character.
We have obviously Ed Mode and Agent Rick Dicker. Those three are in the first row. And then everyone else that's in the back row are all the heroes that died due to Cape-related issues.
I did not realise that. Wow.
So it's Dynaguy, Stratagale, Thunderhead, and Metaman.
It's all the ones that Edna says in her little
and
speech.
then you just have a bunch of random NPCs like behind them. You have no idea who these people are, but it was quite cool. It's a cool cameo for them because they get spoken about in the film, but it's nice that they all attend the wedding. And quite funny that they were pretending like they didn't know each other, and then they're all together in a wedding. It's quite funny. I think it was a cute scene. Nonetheless.
I didn't notice that actually about all those other characters. Yeah, I just thought it's good to mention because they don't make a big deal out of all the things that happen. Because you think that he saved that guy. Yeah, Bon Voyage got away, but he saved Buddy. There was no real big damage done apart from a bit of money lost. But the rest of the world is kind of like, hold up, that we don't really like superheroes anymore. Maybe they get a bit too complacent.
You may argue it was the kind of event that kicked everything off.
Yeah.
Because people weren't suing superheroes, were they?
So he gets sued for that, and then for saving the guy who tried to commit
suicide.
Sorry. And then on people on the train who he saved, they sue him as well, or something.
Really? I didn't know that.
So he gets double sued, and then I assume loads of other supes get sued, and probably him more as well for other stuff.
Basically.
Exactly, trying to get money. And then the world sort of has this attitude of let the insurance companies take care of it. Let the crime happen, let insurance companies pay out. We don't need supes anymore, and everyone sort of turns on them.
We have the superhero relocation program, and it gives all heroes amnesty from their previous actions if they give up their secret identities and agree not to fight crime again. Basically, which is a shame. But I don't think I would say long time coming. But we discussed it earlier. Someone always ends up getting hurt, whether it's the people who are in the wrong or the people just standing on the sideline. Yeah, basically.
And I think the government loses a lot of money through these court cases.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole thing is the suits are losing the money, the taxpayers' money, and all that sort of thing. So they use stuff like that against them. And yeah, you're right. So they're all granted amnesty, aren't they? If they agree not to do any any superhero work anymore. Sorry. So that kind of sets the scene for that. And then there's, I think, another time jump after that. So within the first sort of, I don't know if it's 20 minutes, there's two quite big time jumps.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think the first time jump is a smaller time jump. Yeah, it's not as much as the second one. It's just maybe a year or I don't know how long it is, but it's not that long. But the second jump is a long time jump. It's 15 years later.
That's right. Yeah, May 1962.
Yeah. And we didn't mention at the start, but it's a very colourful world.
Right.
Before the time jump, and when we do this 15-year time jump, it becomes very dark and dungy, and we cut to Bob working in his office, and it's just all grey, and he's got all the colour drained from his face, and he seems like he's had all the
definitely
life
in that place
sucked
of work,
out of
you
him.
can tell.
Yeah, which sort of sums up how he feels at the time, and sort of his state. So Elastigirl seems to have kind of adapted to things. We get a shot of her just with Jack. I think she gives Mr. Incredible a call. Okay. So we get to see him first and with her. I think he's in the sink or something like that, and she's washing him.
Okay.
But yeah, she seems a bit more content with the family life. Mr. Ink helps an old lady with her insurance claim. and he sort of tells her he can't help her, but then sort of does help her. It's quite cute, isn't it?
Yeah. He's always going to help him on the slide.
Yeah, he's always trying to help people out. And then we get introduced to Dash. He's basically in the principal's office, isn't he?
Right.
He's been caught. Well, not really caught doing something, but the teacher thinks he's caught him. Bernie. I always found Bernie so funny.
He's
Even when I
very
was a
good.
kid, I thought this guy is just because everything he says is true and right.
But no one believes it.
But yeah, and everyone thinks he's a lunatic, and because he doubles down, it just plays on even more. And I just find it so funny, like because he kind of gets a bit obsessed, doesn't he?
Yeah,
With Dash.
Dash kind of represents Bob's desire to use his powers because they have to keep it on the down low, but he almost can't help it at times, especially if someone's being annoying to him or something like that. But that scene is so funny.
Yeah,
when he's like, "Don't Bernie me."
He leaves Dash leaves the tack on his chair, and Bernie catches him on video, but all you can see is just a little movement of Dash like moving from his chair, basically back to his chair in the blink of an eye. And the principal just does not believe Bernie at all. Dash gets away with it basically, but Helen / Elastigirl sort of lets him know you're not getting off that easy. We are going to talk about this later with your dad and stuff, but as you just said, it doesn't come to much because Bob kind of encourages Dash a bit.
He encourages that behaviour
because he wants to sort of do the same thing. So we're introduced to Dash, and then we're introduced to Violet, but very briefly. She's quite shy, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's hiding from Tony Riding.
That's right. I just wrote Violet reflects Helen's decision to not draw attention and fit in because she's doing the whole invisible spying thing on Tony.
Yeah.
And I assume she just wants to fit in. She's in like high school, isn't she?
Blending in. Yeah.
There's an Easter egg that comes up later that's really funny. That a magazine that she's reading, but I'll tell you when we get to it.
And I forgot to say at the start as well. The characters in this film kind of are similar to the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Because of how Mr. Incredible's strength is similar to the Thing, Violet's power is similar to Sue, and Dash is sort of the only one who isn't similar to someone in the Fantastic Four because of his speed, basically.
His first suit is blue as well. Kind of like,
so that's cool,
like
sort of little references as well.
Cool. Well spotted.
Then we cut back to Bob driving home in his tiny little car, just reflecting how he's sort of caged in his life that he just doesn't want to be in anymore. I found it quite funny. And then he breaks the window, doesn't he? Oh, breaks the door and then breaks the window.
Yeah.
And then literally loses his shit and picks the car up. But then composes himself because there's that little kid there and sort of puts it back down. And I just that seems pretty funny.
Very funny. That was a good scene.
And then the family eat dinner together, don't they? So we sort of get the first time where they're all together as a family, and we get some family interaction of what life has been like since they've had kids and not been doing superhero things, basically. So Dash talks about putting an attack on the teacher's chair. Helen's not happy. Bob is very excited by it. He wants to know how he did it. He was so fast, like he didn't get caught on tape. And Helen's sort of like, no, you shouldn't be encouraging this sort of typical like mum-dad sort of relationship, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And then Helen asks Violet about school, and then she doesn't say she wants to report anything. She's still being quite shy. So she comes into her own more throughout the movie, doesn't she, Violet? And then Dash teases her about Tony, and then we sort of get this first interaction between the family of like using their powers. I think before that, Mr. Incredible, he gets a bit frustrated and walks away from the table. He like cuts the plate using his strength. He's a bit too strong. So he sort of walks off in a bit of a sulk. And while that's happening, Dash and Violet start having this like sibling fight using their powers. Dash is sort of running around hitting her, and then Violet like uses the force field to like stop him, and he like hits it, runs into it. Sort of we know it, like classic sibling behaviour between people. 100%. I found that pretty funny. And then Helen uses her powers to like separate them. So even she's still in the home using her powers. She's not completely being a super anymore.
That's interesting.
And then Bob, when he goes away from the table, I think he sort of reads the newspaper and he sees an article about Gazer Beam. And that's the first mention we get of Gazer Beam, which is not the first one.
Is he gone missing?
It says Gazer Beam missing, and he sort of goes, that's weird.
Interesting.
And later on he talks to Lucius about it, Frozone. And Frozone says, look, I haven't spoke to anyone recently. I guess it's just because, of how things are. He puts it down to that, but really, there's another reason for it, isn't there? So they set that up. And then Helen shouts for Bob to come back and help at the table because she can't separate the kids. And all he does is come back and lift the table up and make things just worse, really. And they're all just like still fighting while hanging off this table. And then the doorbell rings and it's sort of puts them all back at ease. They all become a normal family again because they probably think it's like a normal human or something like that, and just assume positions. But it's Frozone, isn't it?
Is.
So
It's Lucius.
yeah, Lucius shows up, and then they're going bowling, aren't they?
Aren't they? Yeah, and they have a little watcher that is watching them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the alley that they pull out of is in between an Andes and a Luxo. So obviously Andes is from Toy Story. How could you not know that?
Yeah.
And Luxo Junior is the name of the Pixar lamp that squishes the eye.
Luxo. I forgot about
the
that.
alley, you can see it says Andes on the wall, and then the shop next to it, I think it's like a Luxo auto shop or something
nice
like
little
that.
reference. They're talking in the car, aren't they? Like you said, while they're being watched by Mirage. And this conversation is quite funny because Lucius is telling Bob about his maybe like a recent mission or something he did with a villain when he was fighting him.
Okay.
And he says how he starts monologuing. And that's what happens later on to Bob when he gets in his own fight with a villain. And Lucius says, he has him in my grasp. Like he could have killed me. But then he just starts monologuing. So I just found that quite funny because they're both like laughing about it and sort of ripping on villains in a way how they never really take their chances.
Yeah.
And then I wrote here about how they mentioned Gazer Beam. It's just them bringing it up in conversation, just saying, have you heard from him or any other people, like probably from the wedding, because they know those people.
And it's world building, isn't it? As well,
yeah, exactly.
We understand who it is when we come across him.
Yeah, and Mirage, who's watching them in another car, is targeting Frozone, isn't she? She's not actually targeting Mr. Incredible because she says the fat one's with him. So she says there's a fat one with him. So they didn't expect for
I never noticed that
Mr.
before.
Ink to be there.
Yeah.
They were stalking out Frozone, and then later on when Bob is on the computer, they know where Frozone is because they were tracking him initially.
Okay, wow.
So that's how that all sort of connects.
Excellent. Well spotted.
But yeah, Lucius is actually quite worried. He says, I don't really want to go out and do this anymore. How about we actually go bowling? It's actually a good idea. He's pretty smart to think that. Why not do what their wives actually think they're doing?
Right.
But they keep listening to the radio, and then they hear a fire call. So they go to help out because Bob wants to do his thing, save people. And I found it quite funny when they're in the burning house. Bob doesn't really understand Lucius' powers. He wants him to just like freeze it all. But he's like, I'm dehydrated. He's like, what do you mean? There's like water in the air, but they're in like a burning building that's probably like hundreds of degrees Celsius.
And he can't like manipulate matter into water.
And then he's like, I'm not going to just run through the building because it might collapse. But that's what he does in the end because they don't have any choice. So
and very carelessly, if I may say so, he's carrying 3 people on his shoulder, and he uses those people as kind of like a battering ram. Because you see when he breaks open the door, he's using the side that he's carrying the people on.
Yeah, you're right.
You said again, Mr. Incredible is he's not great at doing things like by the book, is he? He's not a very clean hero. There's always a bit of mess to clean up.
Definitely. And then they break when they go through the wall. They go into a jewelry store, don't they? Which is just another like, oh god. Even Lucius is like, this looks really bad. How do we let this happen, sort of thing.
And they're in ski masks as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they just look so sus. Don't they?
This shaky cop freeze scene.
Yes,
it's so good. And did you know it's pulled straight from Die Hard with a Revenge?
Oh,
have you seen that film?
I have, yeah.
So there's the shaky cop in the subway. It looks like the cop in the film.
Realize.
If you watch them together, it had me laughing because I was like, it looks like the cop. Like they must have like copied his mannerisms.
And the same like shaking as well. Yeah.
And in his face, like I think they kind of just like took the guy's face and put him in.
Yeah.
But
and they just made it into like an even better scene just by Samuel Jackson and just being, I know, freeze, and he does. And I noticed when he freezes him, he actually freezes the bullet as well. So the cop does shoot, probably because he's so scared when he's getting frozen. But you can see the bullet has come out of his gun. Yeah. So he was gonna try and shoot him.
Nah.
So. And then so they Lucius and Bob run away in their ski masks, and Lucius is like, we're not doing that again. That was too close, man. We nearly got caught. And then Mirage confirms on the phone that the target is switched to Mr. Incredible. So I found that quite interesting that they kind of got lucky and they found the guy that they were looking for, even though they are going through the soups in general.
They didn't make up on that at all.
And then Bob comes home. And I'll just kind of skim over this. Helen sort of catches he's got some rubble on him. She's smart, as we said before. She knows he's been out doing naughty things.
When he gets home, he's humming the Incredibles tune.
He is, and he's eating his cake, isn't he? Which looks tasty, yeah. And and she's sort of waiting for him in the dark. But the kids sort of notice they're fighting because they start shouting at each other a bit, and they don't resolve things, but they don't have a massive argument. They sort of just say, look, it is what it is. And we kind of cut to just Bob back in his office square, sort of saying, look, Bob does this every week or so, but he still lives a civilian life.
There's work to be done.
Exactly. And we get introduced to Mr. Huff, don't we?
Is it Gilbert?
I think it's Huff.
Yeah,
I think it's Gilbert.
I think his name's Gilbert.
He's such an annoying but also funny character, isn't he? How he's so tiny.
Yeah, he's got that Napoleon concept as well,
yes,
hasn't he?
Definitely.
He's got loads of clocks in his office, which just again it just like represents that Bob is just like a prisoner of time, and whenever he's in the office, he's just being held like until the time he has to work, and then he can go out and do his thing. I noticed they're
all the same time as well, the clocks.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
You think they might be different time zones, but no, it's just all the same time zone, which is weird.
That's very strange.
I think Mr. Huff has OCD because of all the pencil lining up and the way he presents himself.
And one kind of falls out of line. Maybe representing a certain someone who can't really keep in line.
Yes, definitely. And then he basically just has a go at Bob for being a good guy and helping customers. These customers, he says, they know loopholes in our insurer care system. And he says, what about our people, Bob? He only cares about the stockholders, doesn't he? He's not a good guy. And while Bob's getting ripped on, he sees a guy getting mugged out the window. And he's distracted by it, of course. He wants to go help him. Huff basically sort of says, you're not going to help that guy. And Bob goes to, doesn't he? He goes to walk out the door and he says, if you do, you're fired, basically. And then he stops and Mr. Huff thinks that he's got him where, he has him. And then Bob like grabs him by the neck, doesn't he? And I wrote, he launches him through 4 walls, I'm pretty sure. I tried to count how many walls.
Oh my God.
So
Mr. Huff gets wrecked.
Yeah. Bob is really not happy that the mugger got away, so he does that to him.
Yeah.
So then Rick has to bail Bob out, and Rick's like the government friend, isn't he, that helps out Bob when he gets in trouble, which seems to happen quite, not too often, but often enough, because Rick is kind of like, we can't keep doing this, man.
Definitely.
And he mentions erasing memories as well, which I thought was very Men in Blacky. And they do also mention in the second film, which they show actually erasing a memory. Don't know if you remember, but they do it to Tony.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
So they kind of set that up in a way. And
reminds me of Kay a little bit as well.
and that's what I thought. He looks like Kay, doesn't he? So they definitely are mentioning, referencing Men in Black there. But it's just funny that they mention erasing memories, but they don't show it at all in the movie. But they would have to do it to keep people's identity safe and things like that. So
it's mad.
But yeah, so Bob goes home. He sees the little kid on the tricycle again. When he gets out of his car, he wants to see something amazing, I guess. And Bob's like, me too. Because he's just, Bob's just kind of fed up, isn't he? He's like, I want to see something amazing as well. So yeah, he gets home and then he clears out his suitcase and he hasn't got the heart to tell his wife, has he? And he clears out his suitcase from his insurer care stuff and he finds that file that Mirage sort of slipped in. I forgot to mention, when he's in insurer care, you see Mirage sort of slip into his cubicle and put a file in his little square. So yeah, that ends up in his briefcase, and he reads that when he gets home. It's like an iPad, isn't it? It sort of flicks on.
It's got his new mission on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it flicks open.
I'll let you carry on, but when he's scrolling down his mission, and he can't find a pen, we can see a jar in the back, and it's a jar filled with bullets that have bounced off his chest over the years.
Oh wow!
So you can see
that.
There's a massive. It's like a pickling jar, and it's just filled to the brim with bullets that are squished in half because it's like. So apparently he's probably got impenetrable skin.
Yeah.
If bullets are bouncing off him.
I was wondering about if he did actually. Yeah. Because there's a couple bits in the movie where he gets sort of cut, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I was like, how strong is he? Because he's strong, but is he invulnerable? Do you know what I mean? Like how
he can probably get cut, but not like impact, like an impact injury from like a bullet.
Or it has to be something really strong to cut him, which it is in the movie.
Right.
So yeah, the iPad turns on and it scans Bob as like facial recognition thing, doesn't it? And Mirage appears and says, listen up, basically, because this message will only play once. It's very Mission Impossible, isn't it? That's the vibe I got from it.
Nice.
So as soon as Bob starts listening, he gets interrupted, doesn't he, by Helen. She starts shouting dinner,
Okay.
And it just reminded me of like when you're at home and you're trying to do something, like, and it's like you find it's quite important to you, and then you get interrupted instantly by someone, or it's just the most inconvenient time. But because we're trying to listen to this message as well as the audience, but then Helen's like shouting in the background. But basically, what they say is that there's a prototype robot. It's like a battle bot.
Wow.
It's on this island. It's a private facility. It's causing big damage, and they've lost control. And he's gonna get paid well if he comes to basically help solve this problem of this AI battle bot.
Okay.
But what Mr. Incredible writes is prototype, equipment, robot, private, damage, big dollar. That's all he writes on the note. So while he's getting shouted at and
That's
listen,
the way his brain
that's how
works.
he's, and you can see he's like he's trying to like pay attention, and I just found that so funny.
I didn't even like spot what he wrote down.
I had to
That's
pause it and
hilarious.
see what he wrote, because I thought I'm finding it hard to hear, but I can kind of tell what she's getting at. But he's not as switched on sometimes, so he's probably rushing and he's really excited and he's writing. So that anyway, that's what he
Big
writes.
money.
And
dollar.
Mirage only gives him 24 hours to decide, so he hasn't got long. So it kind of pressures him a bit. He sort of looks up once the video stops playing. He kind of looks up at his wall and he sees all the posters of himself and the newspapers, and he reminisces about the old days. And you can see kind of just he craves it so much and he wants it back.
Of course.
And the iPad ejects a card with Mirage's number on it. The iPad self-destructs,
Right.
and it goes just like a little one, doesn't it? And it'll make sure
yeah.
the sprinklers go off and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wrote the mission sounds so sketchy. When you actually pause it and listen to what she says, it sounds like a secret government project, off the books, experimental, and it's with an AI robot. So if you could actually hear exactly what Mirage is saying, it does sound really shady. But because he's Mr. Incredible, he's of course not really worried
Yeah,
about
why would
it.
he look into it?
So-
He's just like worried about if he's getting paid.
Yeah. Helen tells Bob she appreciates him, and she notices he's distracted. He tries to tell her he's fired, but he hasn't just got it in him. He just can't do it. I think he's probably done it a few times now. He just doesn't really want to be a failure to her, and for her to worry about him, I don't think.
And he has this new job lined up, so he can pretend like he is still going to work.
And I think he still hasn't decided at that point, but then he sort of says, I've got this conference coming up, and that's when his brain sort of starts ticking, and he thinks, I'll just say I'm going to a conference and do this job instead. And she's really happy for him, and that encourages him to go along with it and be like, actually, yeah, this should be all right. So
God.
we sort of cut from that, and he sort of smiles, and then he's getting he calls Mirage and he goes, I'm in. So he's like, yeah. And then we cut to the mission overview where Mirage is basically telling him more details about this battle bot, which is called the OmniDroid 9000.
Yeah.
Which is quite a cool name.
And it learns from previous experience.
Mm-hmm. Which
Interesting
is
concept. I mean, it's not.
scary.
I think it's the Sentinels from X-Men. I believe they adapt, don't they?
Yeah,
I
they
think
do.
that's one of the references.
To the
that I had.
mutants, yeah. I saw they referenced. Someone said that they took reference from the Sentinels.
Okay. Cool.
But she says it became aware and they lost control of it.
Okay.
And it's out in the jungle and it has a cloaking device, so they can't track it easily. So they kind of set it up like, oh, we need you to go, and find this thing, even though they really don't. But
it's part of the plan, isn't it?
Exactly.
For them, like saying that they need him.
And they wanted him to shut it down without destroying it, and that's basically it. They don't go give you too much details. They just give you the plan. And Mr. Incredible's like, cool, and they go to eject him, don't they? And he gets stuck. His tummy is like
Put on some pounds over the
like
years.
he gets like they're trying to eject him into the pod so he can blast out, and the guy's like spamming the button over and over again, and then he has to like twist it and then press it, and then he gets like sucked in. And it's just like, why don't you just do that at the start? Do you know what I mean? Like you could have just pressed it once and then it didn't work, and then twist and then bang. But he like spams the button like 10 times. And it's like boom, 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 and his stomach's like smacking against the thing. It's just like shaming him like repeatedly. I just found that funny. Maybe that motivates him to get in shape a bit later on.
Most likely.
And then, so yeah, he shoots out in the pod to the south side of the island or something like that. And then when he lands, he can't get out of the pod because his stomach's too big. So he has to like go in it and then punch himself out of it, like break it apart.
Yeah.
And then he does like his stretch and his like back clicks, I think, or something like that. And he starts roaming around the island, doesn't he, looking for the battle bot, I'm going to call it.
I like that. Battle bot.
And yeah, as you said, Mirage warns it's a learning robot, so he's got to be careful. It's going to learn from his his attacks and things like that. So yeah, Mr. Incredible goes showtime, and he runs off into the
One of his many
jungle.
catchphrases.
Yeah, he has so many, and
Yeah,
there's
he does,
just
doesn't he?
there's so many lines in this film, aren't there, that are just so great.
Right.
So yeah, he starts searching the jungle, and he finds like the tracks of the BattleBot and the markings on the tree, like he's tracking an animal or something like that. And literally an instant later, it attacks him, doesn't it? It sort of ambushes him, which is quite smart, taking people off guard. It's not the first time it does it as well. And yeah, he gets nicked straight away. His suit gets cut. That's where he gets his cut sleeve, and he bleeds. And that's where I noticed he bleeds. So I think the BattleBot's armor is really like it's made of really tough stuff. So they're trying to show you that straight away that this thing is not to be messed with. It's dangerous.
It's not even in its
even
final
to him,
form yet,
really,
is it?
yeah,
Because
exactly.
it evolves every time.
Mr. Incredible punches the BattleBot into a tree, and he kind of goes, "Yeah," like he's just happy to be there, and it just fighting this thing.
He's
And
having a good time.
It runs at him, and he flips over it, but it calculates his trajectory and just like smacks him out of the air. So it just shows the smarts of the BattleBot. And then becomes like a roly-poly ball of death, and it just tucks all its arms in and just starts rolling around.
Yeah.
And the weight of it just feels so intense there, the way it's just bolting about, and Mr. Incredible is ducking and diving and trying to get out of the way of it. It falls, I think it hits him down a cliff, or they chase each other. Sort of it chases him down a cliff and he's dodging it, and it hits him into a cave, and that's where we get this sort of lava scene.
Okay.
Because I always wondered as a kid, how do they get to this lava pool?
Yeah.
But I think it's they fall down a mountain, and then he knocks him into a cave, and sort of he falls down there, and it starts to try and push him into the lava, doesn't it? And you kind of think, oh God, what's he going to do here? And he just like redirects the bot into the lava.
Yeah.
And then starts laughing at it again. There's just some big vacation to him, and laughs so much that he throws his back out, which I found also hilarious.
Funny, yeah.
Just the fact that he wasn't taking it seriously, and then throws his back out while laughing
Like
so hard.
mid-fight.
Yeah.
It's not over yet, is it?
Yeah, and you get the feeling that that's the case because it was too easy in a way, don't you? So yeah, he gets his comeuppance in a way with that, thinking it's done. So yeah, he says, "Oh, my back" as well, which is funny because that's like Spider-Man 2, where Tobey Maguire goes, "Oh, my back, my back."
Yeah.
He says it in the exact same way as well when
When
it cracks. I found that really funny. And the BattleBot survives, so it climbs out of the lava, like you said, and it grabs him and starts to stretch him out, kind of like Galactus and Mr. Fantastic.
And then you remember that scene in Time Bandits where they stretch out the ogre?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't write that down. That's just what comes to mind when the stretching
I didn't
one.
think about that. But I just thought of our breakdown of Fantastic Four
that
as
does
well.
work, yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, it grabs him and fixes his back, cracks it back into place, and then Bob starts laughing again. So he's just having
The best time.
ripping all the time. And then he rips its claw off. So it's kind of like it fixes his back and gives him some like more strength because it sorts him out. And then he pulls the claw off, goes underneath the BattleBot and kind of avoids its head that goes underneath it as well, and then rips its head off, doesn't it? So you kind of see how strong he actually is when he can get in the right positions where it was weak, I guess.
Okay.
So he rips the head off from there and then climbs inside it, and then makes it malfunction, and it starts stabbing itself with its claws, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then he gets it to rip its own sort of core out. I think whatever it is, its heart or something like that.
And I guess mission accomplished because he didn't completely destroy it, did he? Whereas he wasn't really worried about that at all. But the thing isn't destroyed, is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because
It feels like he didn't plan it, but it worked out, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, you're right. He's destroyed it. He didn't completely.
So the plan
destroy it.
kind of went perfectly from like Mirage perspective.
Exactly. So you think, oh, he's done good here, so everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of is. I think the mission ends. Yeah, Mirage is really happy, and Syndrome wants her to invite him to dinner, to Bob to dinner, doesn't he?
He does a bit of eavesdropping, doesn't he? Like before he gets there. Did you had subtitles on?
Yeah.
So
she's like getting her to charm him, isn't
Yeah.
he? He's like
tell him how great he is.
make him feel important.
Exactly.
Yeah, play on his ego, which she does. She does a lot. You can tell she's kind of doing what Syndrome wants, but not. She's later on in the movie we can see she's not just one of those characters that just goes along
She's conflicted,
with
isn't
everything
she, throughout the film.
Yeah. So yeah, she does charm Bob, and it works. And basically Bob goes home, and I assume they tell him we'll have another mission for you, and he trains up,
Yeah, we get this happy
some
montage.
family time. Yeah, we get Happy Bob, don't we?
Yeah, and this is the magazine bit that I talked about. So we get Happy Bob, and he's kind of like chasing Helen around the house, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Violet is reading a magazine, and there's a tag on the magazine that says "the magazine for looking just like everybody else," which I thought was so funny. She's proper like into it as well. She's like
She really wants to
this
be
magazine
normal,
whilst there's tomfoolery going on around her. And then we move on to Edna, right?
Mm-hmm. We do indeed. One of the best characters.
Agreed. Voiced by Brad Bird. Obviously, just put that out there. There was a Lily Tomlin up for the role, but basically they do a thing called a temp track before they hire like the actual voice actor that they want. And Lily Tomlin refused it after she heard
Brad
Bird's Edna mode.
Yeah,
but it's just brilliant.
She said, "You've got to do it. You're better than me," didn't she?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
It speaks for itself, though, doesn't it?
How good his voice was. I mean, it's just so over the top, but it just works so well. It always has me crack up. I mean, he arrives, he wants his suit fixed, doesn't he?
Yes.
And the first thing she says, "My God, you've gotten fat," like that. And I just thought that so funny, just insulting him off the rip. But I mean, it's kind of endearing in a way because she must like know him well enough to insult him like that.
Yeah, and care about him, and be like,
that's
why
what makes
so
it funny.
Fat?
Yeah. But he's been training at that point as well.
Okay.
So it's just funny. I think she just likes ripping on people because that's just who she is.
Good.
She complains about having to go to Milan and go to these fashion shows. She misses making all the superhero suits like big time.
What a shame.
She wants to make him a new suit. And he's just like, "I just want a patch job, man." She's like, "No, I will make you something new and dazzling and all that stuff." And she says her famous line, "No capes," because Bob he says, "Oh yeah, I can have a cape like," I don't know who he says, like Dino Guy or someone like that, doesn't he? Yeah. And she's just like, "No, no capes."
No.
Which is, she's a wise woman. That's what I'll say about that.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree.
And she does agree to patch Bob's suit up, but she also says, "I'm making you a new suit anyway." So he's still got his old suit, but he's going to get this new red or incredible suit.
Lovely.
And then Bob gets the call for another mission, basically. So we sort of get this progression of the plot because you don't really know what's going on that island, do you? Because you have that mission, but they don't hint anything else.
Yeah, he's doing like ongoing work, isn't he? But he gets to come and go and made to feel important.
Yeah. And then, so Bob goes off to this next mission. He's got his new suit on. He's in this flying cool jet, isn't he?
Very cool.
He gets to the facility and the jet like flies underwater, which is awesome. And then goes underground and he gets into the facility that way. And then they show him to a hotel room or something like that. And you just kind of get the sense like, wow, he's living luxury here. Like they've made this pretty nice for him to kind of lull him into it, I think.
Yeah.
This is fine, this is great, good money, and it's a good job, basically. We cut back to Helen, who is hoovering in the house. She then goes into Bob's office and starts hoovering, and she can see the patch job, can't she?
Yeah, that Edna's done. Yeah. And that's roused suspicion, hasn't it? So she's going to go talk to Edna.
And at this point in the movie, we get these two scenes sort of flipping. So we'll jump between them because they're happening at the same time simultaneously, basically, because it's quite important. So yeah, she sees the suit and goes, "Edna," and then she calls Edna. Edna's like, "You must come and visit me." Doesn't really tell her anything, just says, "Come over, be here in an hour." And Helen's like, "Okay," basically. And then we cut back to Bob, who goes, I think he's waiting, and then he goes to the meeting room that Mirage told him to meet in later in the day for his mission, the conference room. And that's where he gets jumped, doesn't he? By, I think it's BattleBot. I think that the number one was the 8th BattleBot, and this is the 9th in progression. I don't know if it might be the 10th, actually.
And this BattleBot that we see, this is the only scene that we see it in, because the next time it's evolved again.
Exactly.
So this is the
So
only
it is the
section
9th
where we
one,
see.
because the one before was the 8th. So this is 9 and then 10th is
And it's
the
quite scary, because it gets Bob like in its clutches, and it's like, it's kind of like a murder bot, isn't it? So it kind of like leads you thinking, oh God, what is the next version going to like turn out like, if this one is so like violent?
If it keeps
basically.
learning, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Syndrome like reveals his identity, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get the little fight between the BattleBot and Bob, which doesn't last long, does it? Because like you said, Syndrome reveals himself.
Yes.
And Bob's completely matched. He calls it 0 point energy, which is that thing, that beam that he shoots that isolates people's movement or whatever it is. And Bob can't do anything against it, can he? He tries to, this is where I mentioned how, Lucius and that villain who started monologuing, Syndrome starts monologuing, and then Bob tries to throw the the tree trunk at him or something like that.
And he says the famous line, doesn't
and he says, "Yeah, you sly dog." Yeah. So, but I thought it was cool how that they mention it in the universe. It's a thing that, well, I mean, all villains do it, don't they? But it's funny that Syndrome does it as well. But Syndrome still has the upper hand regardless.
And when he says, "You got me monologuing," his chin clips through his shoulder.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I didn't
you don't notice. But yeah, his chin does like go into his shoulder.
That's jokes. Yeah, because he's got such a long, big, doesn't he? So interesting. So Syndrome basically tells Bob how he made him feel terrible. Bob says he's sorry. You know, he shouldn't have treated him that way. But Syndrome doesn't want to hear it, does he?
No.
He feels too hurt and let down. I mean, he's grown up, I suppose, his whole life hating Bob because of what happened.
Yeah.
And he basically just wants to kill him then and there, doesn't he? So he starts like throwing Bob around, and then he flings him over his head. Doesn't really mean to while he's playing around with him.
Yes.
And flings him into like a little like a waterfall that he then falls off of, doesn't he?
Yes.
Because Syndrome tries to sort of blast him, so he kind of has to forcefully jump off it. But Syndrome doesn't. He's not really like chasing him. He's just using his tech, isn't he, to just show how easy it is for him.
Yeah.
And Bob lands in the bottom of the waterfall, and Syndrome sends a probe after him, which is an explosive, and then Bob swims into a cave away from it just before it explodes, basically.
Yeah. And when we go into this cave, we get Gazer Beam again in the film, and just before he's died, he has scrawled Kronos into the wall. He did it with his laser vision because he is like Cyclops.
Yeah.
Although I think Cyclops' beam is kinetic energy, I think Gazer's is actually a laser.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he burns Kronos into the wall, which ends up being the password that can be used to kind of access this database that Syndrome has. It comes up a bit later, doesn't it?
Yes.
But it kind of plants a seed in Bob's head, and it's also really helps him. Because like he wouldn't have been able to discover what he had if he didn't have the Kronos password. So, shout out to Gazer Beam, kind of like came in clutch, didn't he, when he needed to? Yeah,
Definitely. And they mention him at the start of the film, and he's even though he's not in the film much, he's pretty important to the plot of it for Bob to make that discovery. And also, Kronos is the god of time, isn't he? So we'll get to that later. So that's the first mention of Kronos. So. The probe reports Mr. Incredible is terminated.
Okay.
Back to Syndrome. And Syndrome's like, okay, cool. And then just walks off. He just thinks the job is done. I mean, he might have an inkling that he might have survived because he knows that Mr. Ink is kind of one of the better or harder to kill suits.
Yeah, well.
But he does just kind of walk off like, okay, job done. And then we cut back to Edna and Helen.
Yes.
And Edna's got mad security, I wrote. Because they're like going into her lab. And then does her passcode and voice, and then the turret comes out, and it's just got like so many like guns on it. And she's like, and guest, because Helen's with her.
Yeah.
And she wants to show Helen the new suits that she's made from when Bob visited.
Yes.
So I didn't write too much about this bit because she kind of just shows off the different suits and how they're relevant to the children as well as Helen.
Yeah.
So Jack's one is good with his friction. They don't go much into it. Violet's is really good because
Dash?
Dash's one is really good because of the resistance to friction.
Yeah.
Violet's is really good. It goes invisible with her powers. So.
And she kind of like pre-fires Jack's powers before they've even come to fruition, doesn't she?
She does.
Which is really smart of her because he can go flaming. He can turn into a demon.
Yeah.
So it was she's obviously a smart character, but that was just really clever from her.
And she shows Elastigirl her new suit and how, it can withstand her stretching and damage and things like that. And then after that, the most important thing is she reveals there's a homing device in the suit. So she asks Helen, do you know where he is about Bob? Because, Helen doesn't know, but she wants to trust Bob, but at the same time, she knows she can't because Edna kind of hints he's a middle-aged man. He makes stupid mistakes, you know. And Helen does end up pressing the button on the homing device.
And that gets Bob caught, doesn't it?
Yes. So that's while that's happening, Bob is breaking into the facility because Syndrome thinks he's dead. He makes his way out of the cave and he goes back in the facility. He has that knowledge of Kronos, whatever that's going to be used for. He goes back into the facility through that lava room that we saw that when they were making dinner. I don't think I mentioned it.
Scene,
But yeah, you just see the lava in the background, but now you realise that it's actually a tunnel that opens up. I mean, Syndrome is like talking behind it, isn't he, at the start? But you don't really see where it leads. You just see the lava wall.
Okay, right.
So this time he wants to go through it, and then Mirage comes out of it. So he takes his chance, and Mr. Rick like runs down the corridor and just makes it through in time. And then you just get that like long, like it's like a catwalk, isn't it, towards the computer, which then Bob puts in the Kronos password into, and then we see sort of loads of things pop up, don't we? There's so much quick information that comes up here.
Yeah, I didn't go
screen.
nuts like writing stuff down, but there's a really important thing I wanted to talk about. When you go onto Mr. Incredible's profile, it not only says that he's super strong and resilient, it says that he has the ability to sense incoming danger.
Oh, really?
And he does it throughout the film a lot. You know, when he listens into the wall before it explodes.
Yeah.
So and he detects Helen waiting for him in the living room when he gets home, like waiting for him in the dark. So he has the ability to sense imminent danger as well, which is another cute little Easter egg.
Got like higher perception of
basically, which is funny because he's not a very smart guy, is he?
No.
Like, if something bad is going to happen, like something's going to blow up or a robot's coming, you want that kind of power on your side.
Yeah.
So
that's
that was
really
cool.
No, I didn't know that. I thought it was just limited to the strength mainly.
It also says that Elastigirl is a bit of a how do I say, a bit of a floozy. She doesn't want to. She's a bit of a manizer, you know, not a womanizer, a manizer.
Yes.
But which is funny because she adapted so well to settling down and being the stay-at-home mum. It's weird that they were kind of polar opposites, wasn't it? Bob was saying, "I want the world to be saved. Why can't it happen?" And then when it happens, he's bored, and then Helen is just really good at just adapting to what she needs to.
Yeah.
Even though she didn't want to hold a man down, basically.
Yeah.
This was back in the day, obviously, before they met each other, I think. But that's interesting about her character.
And she says in the second film to Bob as well that there's loads of things you don't know about me from like my young days. So you're right. She is a fiery character. She's always been a fiery character, especially when she was younger as well. So yeah, it definitely plays into that. So Bob goes into the lava room, finds the computer, types in the Kronos password.
Yes.
And while he's doing that, Helen is calling Bob's work, his actual Insuricare job, saying, you know, can I get the hotel that he's staying at? I've got the wrong number. And they're like, he hasn't worked here for 2 months. And that's where she's like, yeah, it is right. Yeah. And then the Kronos, there's like a theme called Kronos, the music. And that really starts to like swell here. It's really like builds up. And I think it like adds to the drama of it really well. He enters the super section on the computer, and that's where we see all the supers pop up and how it says terminated or if it terminated the BattleBot. But every single one we see eventually gets terminated by the BattleBot, whether it goes through another iteration or it just kills it outright. I think it killed at least 15 soups.
Wow.
Probably more because you don't really see all of them because it cuts to Mr. Incredible like reacting to some of them.
Yes.
But all of the ones that pop up, I counted 15. So yeah, it's gone for a lot of them. And it kind of, the music as well just adds to it. Like these are like his friends kind of, and like he thought they were out there somewhere, but because of them being illegal now, they had to hide. But they're actually just dead because, and it's all been plotted out by Syndrome, which kind of adds to his scariness and how far he's gone to do this.
It's very menacing, isn't it?
Yeah. And then he checks Elastigirl and her profile says unknown, so they don't know where she is.
That's good, isn't it?
She checks Frozone's, and that's where I mentioned earlier it says known, so they were tracking him before.
Yes.
And then he tracks himself, and it says terminated. So
Syndrome think he's dead.
Syndrome, does think he's dead, yeah. And then I think the computer changes to show the Kronos plan. So it shows the ship flying over to the city, ejecting the BattleBot, and then it destroying the city. And I think it comes up with Kronos and the time on it.
Okay.
It's like 8 hours or something like that. It's not long. So while that's happening, just as that happens, Helen activates the tracking device.
Yeah.
And it starts beeping on his suit, doesn't it?
Yes.
And he starts to get fired at by these weird ball things.
Yeah, I think it's adhesive foam.
Yeah.
It happened, in The Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah,
they look so different, doesn't it? Because they're like
rubber
actual
balls,
separate balls. Yeah, and you just think
looks weird.
That must be. Excuse me. That must be so horrible to get like enclosed by. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of them to get him down, doesn't it?
Yes.
So you can tell it's a pretty clever way to incapacitate someone.
Effective as well.
Yeah. Helen cries, and Edna says, pull yourself together, basically. She smacks her on the head with a newspaper and says, you're Elastigirl. Go and find out what Bob's doing. Stop crying about it. And Helen's like, yeah, you're right. I am.
Yeah.
I am Elastigirl. She goes home and tells Violet, you're in charge. She starts to get ready to leave. And then Dash sees the super suits that Edna made for all of them. Because he's obviously running around and he can see things very easily. He kind of reminds me of like us when we were younger, just being that little like troublesome kid who's just really excited to just do things. And when you see something like that, you just get so excited and you can't control it.
Yeah.
And then he like shows Violet hers, and she's like, "What is going on? Like, what's this for?" And Helen like pushes them out of the room, but lets them keep the suits to kind of distract them. I think to let herself be able to pack, and I think she needs to get her jet sorted so she can get there. So then we cut back to Mr. Incredible, who's imprisoned by Syndrome.
Yeah.
And Syndrome is pretty impressed with him. He says, he's surprised that he survived, but then he calls him lame for calling for help, which I found really funny. He's like, lame, 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 lame. Like he really thinks it sucks because he was really like impressed. And then he thinks that Bob is the one who called for help, but the homing device was activated by Helen.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Bob says to him, I didn't call for help. So he's a bit confused as well. But yeah, Syndrome is basically annoyed because his image of Mr. Incredible has been ruined.
God.
So they reveal that Helen is flying in in a private jet, and Syndrome sends out missiles to meet her, basically.
Okay.
And then while this is happening, Helen's put the plane in autopilot, and she's got into her suit. And then she throws her bag on a chair, and it reveals that Violet is sitting there because she goes, ow.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you doing here?
Stowaways.
And then Dash reveals himself, and they both blame each other as siblings would. It's his fault. Dash ran off, and Dash is like, no, Violet said Mum needs help.
Yeah.
So, but really, they're needed there to help the situation.
Eventually, yeah.
So even though it really adds to the tension of the scene, especially when Helen reports on the radio that there are kids on board, you really feel like the stress of it and the worry that if they're not going to make it out.
Right.
So the missiles basically start chasing the plane. Helen's doing all this ducking and diving. She asks Violet to put a force field around the plane, but Violet can't really do it. She's not mastered her powers enough,
Okay.
I don't think. So they do a bit. Helen does some more ducking and diving, but eventually the missiles do hit the plane.
Yes.
And I think here you can see that Mirage is kind of like, there are kids on board. This is kind of out of order what you're doing, Syndrome. But she still goes along with it. And Helen protects the kids by like wrapping them in herself when the plane explodes, and then like parachutes down, like holding them. You can just tell like her experience. The kids are just freaking out, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're like free falling and screaming as you would. But she's just like wakes up from being like dazed and then grabs them and saves them. And then tells them all not to panic. We're going to get out of this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that motherly figure, just putting everyone at ease, really helps them out. Then Bob basically feels like he has nothing left to lose because he thinks that they're dead from that. So he grabs Mirage and he says he'll crush her to Syndrome. But Syndrome's just like, whatever. Like he sort of calls her bluff, but I don't think he cares if he would do it. And this is where I think Mirage finally realizes, this guy does not care about me. I shouldn't be
Yeah, it's a
working for
very
him
dark
anymore.
moment as well. Like, you think he's going to go through with it, don't you?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
obviously not.
He's a good guy, he drops her, and Syndrome sort of mocks him. I knew you wouldn't do it, sort of thing. But it's not a bad thing. Mirage says to Syndrome later, valuing life is not a bad thing. And Syndrome just doesn't care anymore because all he wants to do is humiliate and belittle Mr. Incredible and become a superhero himself.
Yeah.
Helen becomes a boat. Dash pedals them all along sea, and they make it to the island by nightfall, don't they?
Yeah.
And then they stay in a cave. Helen says to both of them, stay here. I'm going to go search for your dad, basically.
Yeah.
Violet feels bad for failing on the plane with the force field. Helen puts her at ease, says, don't worry, stressful situation. I asked for a lot from you. And then she reveals half her face by brushing her hair back and says, I believe in you. You've got this, sort of thing. And I thought that was a really nice moment. Just, mother and daughter just having a heart
And
to
she's
heart.
coming out of her shell a little bit, isn't she?
Yeah,
More?
just saying, I believe in you and you can believe in yourself. And this is where I think her confidence does pick up because she starts to use her powers more and has a bigger role in the movie than just being that shy
Yeah, definitely.
kid. And then we see Elastigirl's infiltration of the compound, which is really
Yeah.
cool because it's compared to Mr. Incredible's, it's really slick.
Yeah. She goes undetected.
Yeah.
And she kind of looks at her butt in the mirror and sighs. That's a reference to Peter Pan. Tinkerbell does the same thing.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
that was a cool little reference that I found in there.
Nice,
It's
nice.
also quite jokes as well. It's a very famous bit of
Yes.
this scene, isn't it? Because, anyway. Moving on.
Pixar mummy, that's what I'll say.
Oh my God,
you can cut it. We can cut it out.
Said it.
You got to give reference to it
Gotta
now.
give them-
You
give
can't
the
say it and
people-
not.
Give the people what they want.
So yeah, she's breaking in, and I think she's on one of those pods that zips around the compound, and she sees the Kronos rocket, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So straight away she kind of knows like something weird's going on
Something's
here.
happening,
Yeah.
yeah.
She gets caught in all the doors, and all the guards are kind of like tripping over her, and she just wrecks them all, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She just uses her powers really well. They use her elasticity really well in this movie, not because it's animated, it's obviously not goofy, but
No.
it just works really well. Dash goes to look around in the cave, and somehow he gets in trouble, even though it's not his fault at all. He's one of those things, isn't it, where
No, the cave is just like an exhaust port, isn't it, for the rocket?
it's just like he doesn't even go looking for trouble, but it finds
Yeah,
him. But it's
okay.
lucky he does in a way, isn't it? Because he kind of gets Violet out of there in time, and yeah, the exhaust port bursts out the flames as the Kronos rocket departs for the main city, basically, to cause
It's happening.
carnage. Yeah, and then when they're in the jungle, this is Dash and Violet. They get spotted by that bird, don't they?
Yeah.
And Dash doesn't know what it is, but then they both realise and they sort of start running. And then while that's happening, Mirage comes and frees Mr. Incredible because she sort of has a change of heart. She says, there's still time. We can still stop
Yeah.
this. And then he sort of picks her up to
This is the Dark Strangleman.
crush her,
that
yeah.
we referenced, yeah.
and she tells him that his family are still alive, to which he completely changes his tune, doesn't he? He doesn't become dark Mr. Incredible, he becomes more hopeful
More
Mr.
hopeful,
Incredible.
yes.
And then Elastigirl appears, who isn't too happy with him because he's hugging Mirage, but also because he lied to her. But he's just happy that she's alive, so it like diffuses the situation a lot because he's so joyful.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, I'm just happy you're here, man. Like, I don't care. You can be as mad as you want with me. So I found that really, really good. And then Bob and Helen realise that the kids have triggered the alarm because the whole compound starts to go off. So I don't know if they think that it was because Helen broke in, or they probably realise it's the kids because she's left them alone. So something's gone down.
Of course.
So Dash and Violet, they start to sort of get surrounded. And Violet sort of reminds him, do what Mum says, run. So that's what he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, and we get this cool running on water scene. It's really well done. And the kid who voiced Dash, Spencer Fox, ran laps around the studio before recording his lines. It's kind of reminded me, of the Spider-Man PS4 game where when you're swinging, the voice lines are different to if you're standing still. He's like more out of breath
Yes.
when he's swinging. So it's always appreciated, isn't it? And you can tell.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell when they put a bit more effort into the voice acting because it sounds more realistic, I guess.
But they end up like getting caught, don't they?
Yeah, so like you said, Dash does this sick running all around the island. Violet just kind of plays around with her invisibility a bit, doesn't she? She doesn't do too much at that point. And I don't know what to call them, these buggies that are chasing them. They've got like blades on.
Yeah, they're like
really,
saucers,
they're
aren't
really
they?
unique, aren't they? I don't think I've really seen them in
The
weird design.
The
but-
voice is the voice. The sound is off an old indie car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it sounds quite cool.
I didn't know that.
I'll get to it when we do trivia.
And then Dash also, he has that cool scene where he's in the buggy and he's like punching that guy and he's like tapping him like over and over again. And then he kind of looks behind him and he sees the cliff and the guy like taps him once but knocks him out of it. So like saves him basically.
Oh, right, okay.
And Dash like falls down and like catches himself on a vine and he's like, I'm alive, but then draws attention to himself instantly and starts getting chased again. So it's so much like Mr. Ink because it's just like happy to be there doing superhero stuff but bringing more
But
trouble
very
onto
messy.
himself by doing it sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
just
like that.
kind of messy, yeah. And then we get that cool scene. Yeah, he runs on water, and then just before they get him, he stops running and sinks below, and then they collide, don't they? The two buggies. So that's how he gets out of it. So
Okay.
that's pretty cool as well. Use of his powers. Violet's fighting just like one henchman. She's going invisible, fighting him with a stick. Feel like she could do a bit more with her powers, but seems to be a bit reluctant because she wants to be more normal, doesn't she? So she's
Yeah.
probably not as keen to use them. But then Dash comes back to help her, just to like fight him, and she's like, "Get off my sister," and stuff like that. And then she does finally use her powers in a pretty cool way, because she blocks Dash from getting shot, doesn't she? She creates an actual force field. And then we get that cool scene of Dash and Violet using their powers together, because he starts running within the force field, and it's like a hamster ball. And they're like running through the jungle. And while that's happening, Mr. Ink and Elastigirl are looking for them, and they literally collide in the jungle. It's quite convenient, but but yeah, it's fun. It's fun having the family all together, and they're all like hug and happy to see each other. And then all the buggies show up, and they assume their family stance, and you get all the incredible music, and it's literally the first time we get them all together, able to use their powers wherever they want without the public eye, and it's really cool. Very cool scene. And you get them using them all their powers in combination, don't you?
Yeah.
Get like Dash do his little vortex to like disguise them in the dust cloud,
right? And
then Violet does her force field to like block all the fire, and Elastigirl and Mr. Ink start like taking out the buggies and stuff like that.
It's a very cool scene.
It is. Syndrome ruins the party, joins and points his 0-point energy at them. They all get frozen, and he realizes sort of the family sort of puts them together, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, you guys are all yeah." And he sort of mocks them again a bit, like, "How happy to see you all back together." Reveals his plan that he's going to release the BattleBot into the city and then be the superhero to save the day to them.
Yeah.
As a classic superhero does, revealing their plans.
Jeez.
And then he said he's going to defeat the BattleBot and then sell his inventions to everyone, so everyone can be superheroes.
God.
Basically what he says.
It's like capitalizing on the superheroism, isn't it?
He doesn't want anyone to be superheroes because... he wants everyone to be superheroes so that no one's superheroes. Yeah, that's exactly what he says. And then we get the shot of the BattleBot landing in the city and starting to do its thing of like causing
tearing it up.
havoc. Yeah. And I've just made a note here as well. I found this really interesting. When the BattleBot lands in the city and deploys, its eye is red, but before that, its eye is blue.
It's blue.
So it's like matching the suits in a way, or it might be doing something else, but because they got their red suits on at that point. But the first time he fights it, it's blue, matching his blue suit. I don't know if they did that on purpose to show like it's a new iteration as well. That. Just like it's leveled up. I mean, red is more threatening as well, isn't it? And then they're all chained up in these like lightning confinement things.
Yeah.
And Bob starts to sort of say to the family, "I'm sorry, I haven't been very appreciative of you guys." And then Violet uses her force field to roll out and press the button and release them.
It's quite funny because she probably could have done that a lot earlier, couldn't she? But she kind of wants to hear what he's got to say.
She says, doesn't she? Like, I think Dad's done enough reconciliation.
Yeah.
And then she releases them all. And they go to find an escape craft. And they go to this little van, don't they?
It's like a camper, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a camper van, and there's henchmen in it. And one of them says, "We take a shot every time they run," and they're watching the BattleBot on TV, like fighting the police. So they're saying every time the police or someone's running away from the bot, you take a shot. So they're making like a game out of it, which I thought was pretty funny.
They must be getting wrecked.
Considering, like all the work's done, they're like Syndrome's off. Now we can just enjoy.
It's good dark humour.
In a way, for a kids' film, it's a bit like wow. But you don't really hear it unless you're really listening for it.
Right.
So Bob messes them up, the henchman in the van, and then Mirage sort of appears on the intercom and says, "I can help you with a ride and the password to the computer to get you the coordinates to fly back to the city, basically."
Right.
So that's how they get off the island as a family. And they use it's sort of like the shell of the jet to hold the BattleBot with the camper van inside, with Helen attaching it to the jet.
Man uses her powers, so she's strong as well as flexible.
Yeah, it looks painful as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, she screams when she like releases the I think it pulls apart, doesn't it? And then she goes back into the camper van or whatever it is. So it's pretty ingenious how they get back, and then somehow as they fly in, it like lands on the highway, and they just it doesn't get completely crushed. It just flies on. I mean, it's a animated movie, so it kind of bounces along, doesn't it? And they do their highway scene where Bob and Helen are like arguing about the fastest way to get to the BattleBot, which I thought was pretty funny as well.
Nice. Good family theme there.
Yeah. She's telling him to go one way. He's like, "No, that will bring me out the other way." And she's like, "No, trust me." And he nearly misses the turn.
Right.
They're on their way. and Lucius is getting ready to go for lunch, isn't he? And he sees out the window this BattleBot is just starting to wreak havoc over the city. So he says to his wife, "Honey, I need my super suit."
Yeah, it's funny because her name is actually Honey. It's not a pet name for her. You find out in the second one that she's actually called Honey. It was really funny, very iconic line.
Yeah, and he's asking for it, and she won't tell him where it is.
She's hidden it, hasn't she?
Yeah. And she's saying to him, "You're not getting out of going to this lunch again." So she's hidden it, so he has to go to this lunch. But he's literally like, "No, this is actually serious. Yeah, this is bad. This is bad.
You're going to dinner."
Yeah. But she obviously relents in the end. But it's just funny how she's like, "This has been planned for months. You're not ditching it." Pretty good. Syndrome shows off to the world.
Yeah.
He uses his device, doesn't he, to control the bot briefly and gets it to blow its own arm off. And while he's doing that, the bot is analysing him right off the rip and just instantly gets his attacks and how he does his things down and blasts the remote off his wrist, doesn't he? So he just panics instantly because he's got quite good tech. You think if he could use it well, he could put up a bit of a fight, but he just instantly panics as soon as he loses that control.
Well, maybe they weren't actually lying before, and they said that they'd lost control of like the AI, because we know how intelligent AI is nowadays. It's kind of a given that it would kind of like evolve and like outsmart its master, wouldn't it? Eventually, that's what we're all scared of, aren't we? But yeah, maybe that has some semblance. But no, I like to think that he's so
incompetent.
Yeah, or entwined with like being in the hero moment, that he doesn't actually notice that the bot's like learning off of him.
And he just doesn't have what it takes, like his character as well.
He never did he? That's kind of his problem.
Yeah, definitely. So you see that, and he nearly gets blasted. He tries to like dodge and fly away from it. And he just flies into a building and hits his head and passes out.
Jesus.
And it's just like, he's just not cut out for this stuff at all.
Yeah, you see Doc Hudson from Cars.
You do, yeah.
When the family starts to get involved, but I think I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I think that's going on while the fight is happening. So we'd skim over it, wouldn't we? So it's good to mention now. The Incredibles are on the way, and they arrive. Bob is really scared to lose Helen, so he kind of tries to get her to not fight. But Helen's like, "We're in this together. You're not doing this without me. I know you're scared, but it's not an option, basically." And the BattleBot attacks Violet and Dash. I think it kind of gets the jump on them again, doesn't it? It starts to like try and slam down on them.
Yeah.
And Violet uses her force field to, I think, block it a couple times. And then the third time, Mr. Ink jumps in and starts to pick it up, basically.
Yeah.
And they both get out of there. And then Frozone arrives as well, just to start helping out, freezing he creates barriers and then like freezes it in place, doesn't it? But it just sort of walks through it quite easily. Bob finds Syndrome's remote on the floor as well, and he recognises what it is straight away. He kind of draws attention to it by accident. He picks it up, doesn't he, and says, "Syndrome's remote." And then the BattleBot like instantly strains in on it, like, "Oh shit," and starts to go after him because it knows that is the most important thing. So it's kind of careless from him. So they start this sort of juggling scene of this remote. I think Bob says to Dash, "Go along," and launches it, and Dash runs down and catches it. Then the BattleBot starts going after him, and then he passes it off to Frozone, and the same thing happens. So it's sort of this running around the city of trying to buy time to use this remote to control the bot before it kills them, basically.
Okay.
And Frozone has a surfboard.
Wow.
Which I don't think we see it. I don't know if maybe earlier in the scenes when he's like in the old days going through the building, because he has skates, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has ice skates.
But it goes into like a surfboard, like a Silver Surfer surfboard in this.
Damn.
So that's what he uses at the end. I didn't notice it at any point else in the film. So I thought that was really cool. The parents say to the kids, "Right, you need to get out of here now. This is getting dangerous." And they both sort of say, "We're not going anywhere either." So they've matured a lot as well from the start of the film. Violet, being really shy, and Dash kind of being a bit reckless as well. But they're both like, "No, we have a duty as well. We want to help."
They aid in saving the public, don't they?
Yeah.
Whilst the bot is tearing everything apart.
Big time, yeah. It's a big team effort. And then they start to figure out what they can do to take it out, because Bob realizes the only thing strong enough to kill it is itself. So they need to use its own weapons against it, don't they? Which is convenient because one of its claws has fallen off. So Dash is spamming the remote, and the claw is activating, and it starts twisting, doesn't it, and starts boosting.
That's when you see Doc in the back.
Yes.
From Cars.
Yeah, it is, because they're all lined up. Yeah. So the claws, they start to figure it out, and Helen is the one who times it, which makes sense because she's sort of the most level-headed one. They all wanted to do it earlier, but she's waiting for a really good shot. Like you said, while the kids sort of help out, save civilians, Frozone is like slowing it down. They're trying to get this perfect shot so they can fire this claw at the BattleBot, which they get in the end, and it penetrates straight through the core, doesn't it? Like Bob does in the first fight, and just takes it out completely. And it's sort of like, oh, thank God for that. That was a close one.
Yeah. There's two guys talking old school after they stopped the droid. And this is Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. And they're both Disney animators, basically. Yes. So it was nice. They just put them in the film.
Little nod.
And they did it old school style.
Yeah. I do like that. Syndrome awakens from his little rooftop and he's pierced.
Not pierced. In here.
Dick tells the Incredibles Syndrome's assets are frozen, and the public opinion is pretty good of them. Like, it's sort of on the up. Things are looking a bit better. Helen starts to read Carrie's voicemails while they're sort of in the car home from this battle. Carrie is the babysitter for Jack Jack.
And she references Mozart when they're talking. And that's in Jack Jack Attack and Incredibles 2. Because it's sign of it is what offsets his powers, basically. So it's quite cool that she was exposing him to all this Mozart before, and then when Syndrome comes in and tries to get him, he can use his powers.
Yeah, and from the voicemails you can tell that he has used his powers, because she's saying Jack Jack's fine, but I'm freaking out, isn't she? So Jack Jack, he's doing all this stuff, but in the end he's still Jack Jack. Right. But I'm fucking in danger here. That's like what she's saying, basically. And then Carrie's last voicemail is very calm. She reveals... Oh, sorry, just before that, Bob and Dash are like gassing each other up about like the fight, which I found really cool. They're like...
It's cute. They're similar,
Dash is like, oh, Dad, it was so cool when you did this. And Bob's like, oh, but when you did this, that was so cool. And yeah, it's just really little bonding moment. And Violet wears her hair back, like fully back. So just to show that, she's fully sort of accepting herself now. She doesn't want to just be normal and blend in. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, Helen's listening to the voicemails while they're doing that. And the last voicemail, Carrie, the babysitter, is really calm. And she says, thanks for sending the replacement babysitter. I couldn't handle that. And that's when all the family freak out. And they're literally home at that point. So they run into the house, don't they? And who's in the house? But Mr. S.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to give up, does he?
No.
And I wrote, it's the worst mistake he ever made.
Yeah, definitely. So he like steals Jack Jack and tries to like fly him away, and we get this transformation of Jack Jack through a couple of his powers. Doesn't do all of them, but he goes on fire. Does he go metallic?
Yeah. So I wrote, Jack Jack goes fire baby, metal baby, demon baby, and breaks off one of Syndrome's rocket boosters. So,
right.
Yeah, you're right. He only does three different things, and which we see in the second film. He has many different powers.
And then Bob kind of throws his company car at the plane. So basically, Jack Jack's gotten loose from Syndrome. Bob throws Helen to catch him because we know she can grab him and then parachute down. And then he just... I think someone said it was the Incredible that he throws, but it's not. It's his black, like, sort of Porsche that he gets with his job. Yeah. So he launches his company car at Syndrome. And again, we get this theme of how bad capes are, because... in him doing that, Syndrome gets his cape caught in the plane and he just gets shredded up and he dies, doesn't he? So not the best send-off, but like you said before, like messing with the family baby, like you think the family would like come and mess him up, but the baby did most of the damage initially, and then Bob just kind of finished him off.
The baby was always going to be fine, but he didn't know that, did he?
Mad.
And I thought it was really cute as Jack like gets caught by Elastigirl. He sort of like babbles like mummy, and it's just like
because she's like cooing at him, isn't she? While she's in parachute.
She's like, don't look at the ground, and then above him is this massive explosion, and he's just like all happy, and like Jack's such a funny character, even though he just doesn't speak at all. Like he's so good.
So all is good. The day is saved, and they can kind of go back to somewhat being normal, and we get this like race scene where Dash is allowed to compete finally, because he wasn't allowed to do any sports, was he?
No,
in fear of them discovering. But I think now that they've had practice in honing their skills, it would be easier to like hide them when they need to.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny because he gets to do a race and he has to come in a very specific place, doesn't he, to not arouse suspicion. Well, they kind of changed, don't they?
He sort of doesn't know where to finish, does
No.
he? At the end of the race, he says, "I didn't know what to do." He says it like quite quietly while the others are talking. So they didn't really plan it, but they did plan like you can't win.
It's funny
basically.
They change it, they're like he's first and then they go third, and they go second.
He like speeds up and slows down.
Then he's wearing a number 2 t-shirt,
right?
And he gets second place.
And it's quite cool. I just find it so funny that they're just so happy he even got second, like just to be part of it. And I think it's like an acceptance of not being normal, but like not all blending in, but just living civilly and like being part of something.
Yeah, not going overboard.
Yeah, like you don't have to, like, but when you need to, obviously you do. But yeah, I just thought that was a really, really cool scene. And like you said, they're telling him to do different things while he's rolling. They're saying, you know, make it close second. And we get also introduced to Tony again, where Violet is a bit more confident and she sort of she asks him out, doesn't she, in a way?
Yeah, she's had her character development, hasn't she, over this film? So she's comfy in her own skin.
She's very much more comfortable, which is nice. And yeah, as they're leaving the sports day, the Underminer arrives, doesn't he? And I thought it was hilarious. He declares war on peace and happiness.
The Underminer is such a good character. The Underminer is voiced by John Ratzenberg. He's voiced dozens of Pixar characters. I wrote down a few that we would know, but he's done at least double these voices. He was the Abominable Snowman in Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
He was Ham the Pig from Toy Story. He's the School of Moonfish in Finding Nemo. He's the fat guy from WALL-E. John. John, the fat guy from WALL-E. He's Bill in Finding Dory. And he's P.T. Flea in The Bug's Life. So he's played a lot of different characters.
That's so cool.
But yeah, John Ratzenberger. Shout out to you. It's a nice way to wrap up the film. You didn't think another one was coming out, did you? You many years went by.
You hope, don't you? But I'm glad it was Brad Bird that wrote it and directed it again, because I think any other way it wouldn't have been that good.
We could do it on another week of TBR.
I actually watched it afterwards because I enjoyed this so much when I watched it. I just thought I'm going to watch the second one. And,
lovely.
And it carries on straight from this as well. Obviously, I won't go into it, but the Underminer is really funny at the start of it. He makes some really funny jokes about being
really good.
Undermined by people and stuff like that.
A lot of mole people in the films that we've done recently. Like there was one in Fantastic Four.
That's what I was thinking.
But yeah, do you want to move on and do trivia?
Yeah.
Lovely. We didn't talk about how much it made. It was released in the 26th of November 2004 with a $92 million budget. It grossed 261 million. It made 70 mil on opening week.
Damn.
And its worldwide gross was 631 million.
Wow.
So over $500 million. I assume that's dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it did
that
very
was on
well.
IMDb. It was released at the same time as National Treasure. Have you heard of National Treasure?
Yeah. Nicolas Cage.
Polar Express and Saw. Saw, it's not like days, but it was released within the same month of those films. So compared to, we were talking about The Thing having stiff competition, it didn't have that much to go against, because the Polar Express came out around December, Christmas time. And, Saw is a very acquired taste, isn't it? Especially for horror films.
Definitely.
In the beginning of the film, where we see Mr. Incredible with Elastigirl on the roof, the robber that she punches out is rifling through a bag, and there's a Mr. Incredible Pez dispenser in the purse. It's quite funny. The guy who voiced Syndrome, Jason Lee, recorded his line in 4 days, whilst Craig T. Nelson, who voices Bob, it took him over 2 years.
Wow.
To record his lines. So not took him, but that was the span of the time that he had to record. I mentioned the jaw thing. So when he says, "You got me" monologuing, you see his jaw clip through his shoulder. Samuel L. Jackson was cast as Frozone because Brad Bird wanted the character to have the coolest voice.
Right.
So that's why he was hired.
Well, it works.
Brad Bird got the idea of this movie in the early 1990s, basing the story on his own experience of balancing family and career.
Oh, wow. So he spent a while writing it then.
The original title was The Invincibles. But ended up not happening. But yeah, The Incredibles is a lot better. The sound effects for the flying saucers were made by the muffled sound of an Indy car.
Interesting.
I don't know what that is, but I'm sure we can find a picture online.
Yeah.
This was the first Pixar animated studios film not to receive an Oscar nomination for its music.
Really?
How mad is that?
I was
Because we've
gonna
talked
say,
about
'cause
many
this is
times how good the music is.
Michael Giacchino did the music for this, and he did the music for Rogue One,
Wow.
and I think he did Star Trek Into Darkness.
But the score
He's
is
done
so
loads of
the
other
score is
stuff.
so good for this film. You would think that it's just well, I won't say a given, but like the Incredibles theme, it's really really good.
It's so well like recognized, isn't it? And I think Michael is still really well known. Like he did the Batman, I think, so he's still currently making music for films and doing it really well.
The last bit of trivia I have is the movie's line "You sly dog, you got me monologuing" was voted as top 15 out of the top 100 movie lines by Premiere in 2007. I don't remember that being a known line from this film, but
Really? No, I do. I definitely do.
I think I was too young to pick up on all the nuanced stuff about them monologuing and talking too much. I was probably just watching all the action going on.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, do you have anything else to add before we go?
I don't
What
think
would you
so.
rate it? Got to do our rating.
It's such a good movie. I'd probably give it a 9 close to The Thing as well, because it's really good, but in its own way, because it's such a different genre, isn't it? So, because it's like a family movie, it covers sort of all bases. It's funny, it's action packed, it's also really emotional at times. But The Thing is just like a horror, and it's so clever, isn't it? But yeah, I'd still rate it really highly. I'd probably give it a 9.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd give it a 9, just because you're not particularly bored at any point in the film. It's not very nuanced. We said this before. Like, it's when you watch the film, you see things for what they are. There's not like deeper meaning that you have to follow. So, as a family film, it does its job very well. So I'd rate it a 9 as well.
And the plot ties together really nicely, like with all the things it mentions. It just, like you said about the world, it's built really well.
They do good world building in this. We have it on DVD, so that's our staying down. Would you go see this in cinema if it re-released?
I don't know. Would you? I've watched it so many times.
I don't think it's worth a cinema visit. And you said it before. We probably watched it when we were kids, like at the cinema. So I don't know if I'd go out of my way.
It's not one of those ones you have to watch in cinema.
No.
But yeah, I would say just watch it at home. But yeah,
I'd say no. I'd say get it at home.
We've seen it.
It's a good family film.
Endless times. So
definitely.
And I think, as I said at the start, I think we did see it in cinema when we were younger, because we used to go a lot.
Must have been. Anyway, that was episode 3 of Two Brothers Reviews. We really hope to enjoy. We'll try and pump this video out before the end of the week, but if not, we will see you next week. Have a good one.
Catch you later.
See you later.
Bye.